Hey, 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 welcome back to Dear Aunt Susan Advice on Being Human. How is everybody this week? I hope you all had a wonderful new year. Today, we're going to answer some more questions. But before we get to it, I want to ask you a question. What are some things that you want to learn more about? What kind of questions do you want to hear about? And if you have a question, I want to hear about that too. So here's my email address. I want you to send your inquiries to Susan A.T. The Quiet Zone at gmail.com. That's my email address. Send them to me, and I will try to answer more questions about what you're interested in. Let's see, what are some of the good questions that we have going on? Oh, I've got this couple of things to tell you about. First of all, there's an awesome webinar that I have going on, and it's about life skills. Um, it's about the life skills your parents never taught you. Okay, which is why you come and listen to Aunt Susan in the first place, right? So if you go to YouTube and look for the channel called The Quiet Zone Coaching, that's where you're going to find the life skills your parents never taught you. It's a webinar that's on there. It's about 45 minutes long. Got a lot of great stuff on there that's going to help you. A lot of the stuff that I talk about here on this podcast, I talk about in that webinar. So go ahead and listen to that. I think you might like it. Okay, so let's get right to the questions. The first question, oh boy, there's no asker here. It was an anonymous question. But it says, how can you use the law of attraction to achieve goals? And that's why I kind of sighed and went, oh boy, because I'm not a fan of the concept of the law of attraction. I don't think it works the way it's intended to work. And I follow a different path. I call it the new car factor. And the new car factor is simply this. When we get a new car, suddenly we notice all the other ones like it on the road, right? You've had that happen to you. So those other cars didn't magically appear. They were always there. But now we're noticing them because the model is familiar to us because we have one. It's not like the Jolly Green Giant just came and dropped them down all on your head, right? And in the same way, when we're grateful for and appreciate what we already have, we notice even more things for which we can be grateful. The more we're grateful, the more we notice. It becomes a cycle. All right. And what's going to happen is you're going to start having experiences that I call everyday miracles, because there are going to be more and more things that you notice that you can be grateful for. And you've heard me say things about being grateful for the little stuff in life, right? So you made it through a green traffic light. You went into the deli and there was a short line. You had a stranger smile at you. You saw something that was really beautiful, or you just felt good today for whatever reason, or the clothes that you're wearing are super comfortable and you're really glad that that's what you wore today. All those wee little things that we take for granted every day, start noticing them. Notice the way the sunlight bounces off the water that comes out of the faucet. Notice the way your hands feel when you're holding something soft or something that's fun, that you're doing something fun. Pay attention, be mindful, and enjoy the moments, okay? And the more you do that, the more you're going to notice, and you're going to start seeing all the little everyday miracles that pop up. I guarantee it. And I want you to pay attention to those things and then tell me about them. I want to hear about them. What are some of your everyday miracles that popped up from following the new car factor? Okay. And the reason that this works and the law of attraction doesn't really, and I'll explain how that happens. Our subconscious minds start receiving messages of I have when we are being grateful for what we already have. Okay, our subconscious is hearing, wow, this is awesome. Look what I've got. Look what I've got. Look what I've got. So what it does is it puts you in the position of getting more. Subconsciously, you will be doing the things that you need to do to get even more, because your subconscious is hearing messages of I have, and it's trying to provide you with more I have. Okay. When you're following the law of attraction and you have vision boards up and you're trying to manifest stuff, you are giving your subconscious a message of I want. Okay. And that is what your subconscious is going to give you, is more wanting, not having. So by being grateful for what you already have, being happy in your own skin, being comfortable in your own shoes, in your own life, that's when all the blessings start coming. Been there, done that, seen the movie. That's been my experience anyway. So I would love for you to try it and let me know how you make out with it. Let's see. Next question. Ooh, okay. Remember last week, if you listened last week, go back if you didn't and listen, because a guy named Ryan sent me a question, and he asked about, he said that people that didn't deserve things were getting them, even though he was the one who worked really hard, and they did things to destroy him, and he was really PO'd about that. Okay. And I kind of gave him some advice that I don't think he really enjoyed hearing, um, because I kind of slapped him upside the head and said, you know, people are going to do what they're going to do. Keep your eyes on your own paper. Overcome the notion that life is fair, because it's not. Learn the lessons, change your perspective. Okay. And I don't think he really liked hearing that. So he said, well, I can't begin again, because I had told him to start over again. And he said, I can't begin again because even though I have a PhD, I can't even get a menial job, and I'm stuck with my abusive parents. My life has been so bad that my first memory is of abuse, and no one will let me get out of it. Okay, well, okay, I'm going to give you some more advice, Ryan, and you're still not going to like it, because it sounds like you don't want to start again. That's a cop out. Who says you're stuck with your abusive parents? If you're old enough to have a PhD, you're old enough to get out. Okay, people abuse us because we let them abuse us. And I don't mean to sound harsh, but the past is the past. Turn your focus to right now. What are some positive and constructive things that you can do to solve this problem right now? Okay. If you've got a PhD, you must have a lot of knowledge about something. So I think you're not looking in the right places for jobs. Either that, or you have a PhD in philosophy. You know, I mean, you could be a college professor, start sending applications out. Why? What's holding you back? There's something else here to this story. Another thing is too, is that when it comes to abusive parents, okay, and a lot of us have had abusive parents or abusive relationships with our parents. Walk away. Okay. You are allowing this to happen. Start setting some limits and setting some consequences on this situation. And I know that that's really hard. And people are going to be really PO'd at me for saying things like this, but you know, you've got to put your foot down. Like I said, if you're old enough to have a PhD, you are old enough to get out. And there is something that you can use called the XYZ formula to set limits. Okay. When you do X, I feel Y and I'd like Z. So you could say things like, when you speak to me that way, I feel hurt and I'd like you to stop now. You can issue consequences and follow up with them. Make sure you follow up with them if your parents don't comply. So you can say things like, I'm going to walk away from this conversation until you can speak to me without being rude. Let me know when you're ready to have a calm conversation. Okay. And next, find yourself a job, any job. Okay. What's your PhD in? What are some corollary fields that you could search for? Have you spoken to your grad school about placement? Have you spoken to your college advisors? Have you networked with friends? Have you networked with any professional contacts you might have? Are you on LinkedIn? Start creating goals and focusing on solving the problem so that you don't feel so stuck. Okay. But we are ultimately in charge of our lives, and we only allow other people to abuse us. Put a stop to it, walk away from it. And I know if you've had a lifetime of abuse like that, you might think it's normal, or you might think you can't get out of it, but guess what? You can. So do it, get out. Okay, next question is from Donna. Oh, okay. Donna wants to know, during all of the chaos to adapting to new normal, have you felt calm or peace? And if so, could you share? And my answer is yes. It's a matter of what mindset that you choose to embrace. Okay. Just like what we were saying to Ryan before, if you choose to embrace a mindset of being a victim, or playing your violin, oh, woe is me, that's just manipulative. You're not going to have a good life experience. So in the middle of all the chaos and uncertainty, I was still able to find calm and peace in some different aspects of my life. And I'll tell you what some of them were. I discovered how wonderful my husband is and how much I love him and how awesome our relationship is. We actually were able to deepen our relationship because of the COVID lockdown. I also realized how much I love working from home. I worked before the pandemic. I worked from home periodically, about half the time. And I also worked out of the house, but I really love working from home. This is great. I got to spend time. I've got aging dogs and cats that I got to spend time with. They hang out with me while I work. You probably hear them snoring or ticking around on the, walking around behind me. It's so much better than being out all day and they're here by themselves. And I realize how important my family is and my kids are to me, with my concern over their well-being during the pandemic. And I also learned that while I don't need other people to be happy, they do provide a lot of warm and fuzzy that enhance my experience in life. So those are things that I was able to learn, and lessons I was able to take, and things I was able to take some joy from during the pandemic. And there's another question that I have that's in the same vein that Barbara wanted answered. And it's, how do you focus on what you can control when you're faced with so much uncertainty? And I'm sure that she's referring to not only the pandemic, but here in the US. I know some of you listen from overseas. Here in the US, the politics are ridiculous. A lot of Americans are becoming really pissed off about the way our political system works and the candidates that we have to work with. There's a huge number of people on either end of the spectrum. Some are really super conservative and others are really super liberal. And the people in between are starting to disappear. Everybody's becoming polarized. So that's another uncertainty that's been going on. And I know my husband and I have been watching the news with this incredulity. It's crazy what's going on out there. So with all the uncertainty in the world right now, it's only logical that we're going to want to take control over whatever we can. But did you know that the more we try to take control, the less likely we are to get it? So instead, change your mindset to problem solving. Okay. Ask yourself, what is something positive and constructive that I can do about this? And that was the message I was sending to Ryan just a minute ago, too. What is something positive and constructive that you can do about this? So instead of sitting down and crying in the corner and playing your violin and saying, oh, woe is me, what is something you can do about it? Okay. So did you ever hear the expression, and the environmentalists came up with this, and I've mentioned this before. It's what is something, think globally and act locally. Okay, you've heard that expression. So for example, if you were to have COVID concerns, okay, what are some of the things that you can do about it on a local level? So you're not able to control what's going on a bigger level, like worldwide or government-wide, like say you're talking about environmental issues and stuff like that. We can't control what happens out in the world, but we can control what we do, what our mindset is, what our attitude is, and our actions. So again, what's something positive and constructive I can do about this? So if you're worried about COVID, you can wear a mask, You can practice social distancing. You can meet with your friends on Zoom or on Google Meetups or whatever service that you happen to have where you are instead of in person. You can wash your hands frequently. You can carry a hand sanitizer when you're out. Okay, those are all things that you can do. You can't stop COVID. You can't control it. You can't make it bow to your will. But there are things you can do in your own backyard. So do those things and make sure you pat yourself on the back and give yourself a huge round of applause for doing the very best that you can in your own corner of the world. Everything and everyone is part of a larger network that expands out like ripples in a pond. I've talked about this before. I'm going to start repeating myself now. But know that what you do is having an effect on the universe at large because of those ripples in the pond, even if you're only just setting an example for other people. Okay, so be the change that you want to see. Oh, okay. Here's a really good question. This one is from Oscar, and he wants to know, how do you keep your attitude in check? Ooh, well, the short answer is by being grateful in every situation and looking for every opportunity that you can to serve other people, and also by acknowledging a higher power. Okay, so we talked a little bit about being grateful and the new car factor and attracting more positive experiences to ourselves and looking for opportunities to serve others. Okay, you can be grateful when things stink. There's always a lesson to be learned, even if it was only that you were strong enough to survive, and be grateful for those lessons. And also serve others, but not in a creepy slice your guts open kind of way. What I'm talking about here is having an attitude of being helpful and useful. Keep an eye out for when other people might need assistance. So yes, we have to have a healthy sense of self-esteem, but the world doesn't revolve around us, okay? Bad attitudes usually originate from one of two places: a lack of self-esteem, and yes, you heard me right, a lack of self-esteem, and also the lack of belief in a higher power. When our self-esteem is low, we try to elevate ourselves over others by putting them down or thinking that their opinions aren't valuable, um, or else just not paying attention to their needs. And here's where looking for that opportunity to serve others comes in. And again, not in a creepy way, not in a stalker kind of way, like, oh, what can I do to help you? Oh, yeah. But but just by being considerate of others. And hey, oh, you need some water? Here, I have a bottle of water. Oh, you dropped something here, let me pick that up for you. Okay, and make when we feel better about ourselves, okay, we can now help other people because we're not looking to serve our own ego. Okay, we're not trying to raise ourselves above the level of other people. And then also the whole concept of a higher power, okay? When we don't acknowledge that there's something greater than us, even if it's only the power of nature, okay, we become entitled and arrogant. When we think we're the end all and be all in the world, that's what's going to make us a very unpleasant person to be around and a jerk, okay? When we can acknowledge that there's something bigger than ourselves, our arrogance gets taken down. And that doesn't mean that you have to run out to your local synagogue or church or mosque. Even an atheist can believe that the power of nature and science is greater than what he can control. There's always someone or something that is smarter or better than we are. There's always a power that is in control when we're not. Okay, remember what I said about control. The more you try to take control, the less control you're going to actually have. Um, so yeah, let those things go. We don't need to be arrogant and to put other people down. See where you can be of service to others. What can you do to help other people? Now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have a healthy sense of self-esteem. And that's where our next question comes in. Peter wants to know, what small things can you do daily to improve your self-confidence? And your self-confidence and your self-esteem are very closely related. Your self-esteem really has to do with how you feel about yourself. And your self-confidence is how comfortable you are showing yourself to other people. And you might be really self-confident, but not have a good sense of self-esteem. All right. And in order to truly be of service to others and to be an effective cog in your network, in the machinery that is the universe, you have to be comfortable in your own skin. You have to like yourself. You have to feel comfortable about yourself. So let's talk about creating affirmations. Now, affirmations, the way that you're probably thinking about them are just like the law of attraction. They don't work, okay? But if you base your affirmations, your self-talk to be positive and be about things that are real, your subconscious can't fight against you, okay? So you don't want to have your subconscious sabotage you because it doesn't believe when you tell when you tell yourself things like, I'm an awesome person, or I'm going to make $1 million. That's probably what you're thinking when you hear about affirmations, right? But your subconscious can't argue when you create affirmations that sound like these. I'm a good person because I let somebody into my lane while I was driving. Okay. Do you see that? I'm a kind person. I'm a good person because I did this. I held the door open for somebody else. I picked something up that I didn't drop and gave it back to them. That is a real life event that has to do with being a kind person. And if you can't think of a time when you did that, create a time. Hold the door open for a stranger. Smile at somebody that when you don't have to. Be nice to the cashier in the store. So you have created a situation in which you can now create an affirmation or positive self-talk to go along with it to boost your self-esteem. Another one would be, I did a great job on that report at work. I'm good at my job. That's a great way to overcome the imposter syndrome. If you suffer from that, I know I do that. I have a tendency to feel like, oh, wow, people actually pay me to give them advice. Wow. Maybe I shouldn't be doing that. But no, I think about times when I've given people really good advice and they've told me so. And if you can't think of a time when you did something that reinforces what it is you're trying to tell yourself, what affirmation you're trying to create, you can practice in the mirror or think about doing it. How can I do this? What is something I would like to see myself do to prove to myself that I am whatever that might be? A lot of times it's super useful to sit down and write out what your core beliefs about yourself and about life are. So what do you tell yourself? Monitor your self-talk. Do you say things to yourself like, I suck at this, or I'm not good at my job, or I'm not a nice person, or whatever it might be? Write those things down and then find situations in which you prove to yourself that you are a good person and you are good at your job, or you are a kind person, whatever those things might be. Here's another example. You can create an affirmation that says something like this. When I practiced my speech in the mirror, I nailed it. I can do this. So if you can't think of a time when you actually did what it is you're trying to convince yourself that you can do, practice it. And when you nailed it, it proves that you can do it. You can make an affirmation out of that, but it has to be made out of real events. And another thing that you can do, and this is really super fun too, is you can create positive self-talk over the smallest of things. Just like when I told you to create gratitude, get gratitude from the smallest of things, like a short line in the store or getting through the green light, you can do the same thing with your affirmations or your positive self-talk. So I got out of the car without falling, which is a big one for me because I'm a klutz. That cashier was really nasty to me, but I didn't yell back at her. I was nice. I killed her with kindness. That shows what a smart person I am. I didn't engage. Okay, things like that. little tiny successes in life. I got to work without cursing out anybody else on the road. There you go. Give yourself a round of applause and a pat on the back. Do that a lot. I like to tell my clients to do that. Give yourself a round of applause and a big pat on the back when you have even the smallest of successes. I got my chores done in record time today. I managed to get the dishes done before I started working on dinner. Whatever those things are, give yourself a round of applause, a pat on the back, create positive self-talk. If you do something that's really big or spectacular, like, wow, I did a super great job on that presentation today at work, give yourself a reward. What do you like to do? Spend 20 minutes or half an hour reading or jogging or in the bathtub with candles lit. Make sure you reward yourself. These are small things that you can do every day to improve your self-esteem and your self-confidence. Let's see. My next question is from Lisa. And she wants to know, and again, another pandemic question. Boy, everybody is pretty freaked out by the pandemic. She wants to know, what do we need to do to adjust to the new normal? Okay. Oh boy, there isn't enough time for me to get onto my soapbox and tell you everything that I'd like to see happen to get us into a new normal. Okay, but here's an outline of what I think the best steps are to create a new world in the new normal and to fit into it with grace and with ease. The first thing is, and I know you people are going to say you've been talking about this the whole episode, but it's true. Be mindful. The past is gone. The future isn't here yet. Stay focused on what's happening right now. Experience each moment. Observe the vibe. Immerse yourself. Okay. And then be grateful. We take almost everything wonderful in our lives for granted. So, of course, we're going to be grateful for the big stuff, but be grateful for the little things too. Okay? Stay positive. Stop casting blame. Focus on that problem-solving positive attitude, what we were talking about before. How can I solve the problem? How can I make this work? What lesson can I learn from things? We all have problems and troubles. What are some things that you can actually do about them? What positive results came from those troubles in the end? What lessons did you learn? Also, focus on taking care of others. Ask yourself, how can I serve this person? What can I do to help? Instead of only thinking about your own needs, think about the needs of other people in your own neck of the universe. There really is no such thing as altruism if you think about it, because it feels good to help other people and they feel good when we help them. So why not be the change you want to see? It's a win-win both ways. And also, again, make sure you practice self-care. I know it sounds like I just contradicted myself by saying taking care of others and taking care of yourself, but that's not. It's not a contradiction, because you can't pour water from an empty jug. You can't help someone else with their oxygen mask if you're dying from hypoxia yourself, right? So schedule time into your days every day for self-care, even if it's only for 10, 15 minutes, doing the things that you love to do, taking care of the needs that you have. You fill them for yourself. Don't wait for somebody else to do it. Give those things to yourself, whether it's rest, whether it's love. Hug yourself, pat yourself on the back, give yourself a round of applause. So I hope you have enjoyed Dear Aunt Susan today. I hope to talk to you again next week, God willing, and have a wonderful, awesome, amazing week. Go to www.thequietzonecoaching.com to see how you can get in on my coaching services that for you. Do the thing for you. I will create a package that you can afford so that you are happy and wake up happy in the morning. I look forward to talking to you soon. Bye.